and welcome to Our Voices. I'm Amina Aliyu, joined by my colleagues Semina Shekoye, Ariana Tangishaka, and a very special appearance from VOA's very own Sunny Young, or, you know, the host of Sunny Side of Sports for our ardent sports program listeners. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, singular.
Thank you.
Very sunny.
Great to be here.
I have to say, Sunny, right after the show goes on air, I have to send a link to my dad. For so long, I've always pretended when he asks me, "You work with Sunny, right?" Sunny, I'm like, no, I don't even know what he says. But this is giving me away. I have no choice.
Yes, we are proud. We are lucky to have you here with us
Thank
today.
you. I'm pleased to be here. Yeah, thank you.
So, guys, I have to ask, first question. What are you looking forward to the most from this FIFA 2023 Women's World Cup? Ariana, let's start with you.
I think for me, it's the new teams that are going to be playing this year, especially Zambia, with all the controversies going on. Besides that, it being in the FIFA World Cup this year is interesting, so I'm looking forward to see how the women will perform.
Yeah, I also I want to check out the new teams in the tournament. We have the Copper Queens of Zambia, and the other team making its debut from Africa is Morocco. And the Moroccans have actually played some really good football in the past couple of years. Their men's team made it to the semifinals.
Really well
So yeah, a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm also looking forward to see how well the African team is going to be. The Lioness, the Copper Queens, the Super Falcons, and the Banyana Banyanas.
You know all the nicknames.
Yes, I learned it from you.
So now I felt like you all met before the show. I'm the only one left out.
But you know,
I didn't even know that there was such a thing as FIFA Women's
You're
World
not
Cup.
the only one. Millions of women feel the same way.
But this year, you know, the ticket sales went over 1 million, which is over from the last one that was in France. So I'm also looking forward how the coverage, because you said you don't know, many people don't know. So I look forward to how the coverage, the conversation is going to be about Women World Cup.
Right. And well, extra things they throw in because, you know, if it's like extra million people, so it must be interesting and exciting. So
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign.
If they've sold that many tickets.
Most certainly. So, FIFA. The FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 is set to kick off in Australia and New Zealand, with 4 African teams out of 32 participating. Morocco and Zambia are making their debuts, while Nigeria, along with South Africa, make their triumphant return to the tournament. Yet all eyes will not only be on the playing field, but on FIFA itself. Inside FIFA published an article last month quoting FIFA President Gianni Infantino, where he said, "The new distribution model for FIFA will ensure each individual player at the FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 will get full remuneration for their efforts as they progress through the tournament." The captain that ultimately lifts the iconic FIFA Women's World Cup trophy on August 20th in Sydney will receive $270,000 as each of her 22 teammates. The global salary of women's professional football is approximately $14,000 annually. Therefore, the amounts allocated under this unprecedented new distribution model will have a real and meaningful impact on the lives and careers of these players. Outside of the age-old controversy of equal pay for men and women in sports, FIFA Women's World Cup has also made some scandalous headlines just recently, as the head coach of Zambia's national women's soccer team, Bruce Mwampe, faces allegations of sexual misconduct less than 2 weeks before the kickoffs. On this week's edition of Our Voices, we'll take a closer look at the upcoming Women's World Cup Games and see if FIFA will keep its promise to be more inclusive and pay big money to their female players. Welcome to Our Voices.
Well, let's first go to Nigeria. Women's football in Africa is gaining a foothold, but female players often complain of poor paychecks when compared to their male counterparts. Nigeria's female national team, the Super Falcons, is by far the most successful in Africa, winning 9 out of 11 titles. Despite the challenge, though, the team is gearing to represent Africa this month at the FIFA Women's World Cup in Australia and also in New Zealand. But supporters back home are hoping their successes at the game challenge status quo. Timothy Obizu reports from Abuja.
Blessing Emmanuel started playing football when she was only 12 years old, but her family initially resisted and tried to force her to quit.
My dad was like, no, I don't think I want my daughter to be in the midst of boys, stuff like that. So I just had to to convince them.
Emmanuel's father believed she'd be more successful if she focused on her education instead. But in 2020, Emmanuel joined the Niger Rattles Football Club, a local team which launched 2 years earlier, and she soon began to gain some recognition. Last year, she led Nigeria's under-17 national team to India, where the team won a bronze medal. Niger Rattles coach Sonny Udu says the club started with the objective to help especially underprivileged girls find purpose, and it is achieving that.
It's not every girl child that have the opportunity to come from a very good home. You discover that most of them, they are on the streets doing what they don't feel like doing. Why? Just for them to meet up some responsibility.
Women's football is increasingly popular in Africa, and Nigeria's national team, the Super Falcons, is among the most successful. It is the only African team to participate in FIFA Women's World Cup since 1991 and is currently in Australia to take part in the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup starting July 20th. Despite the success, female players say they are often poorly remunerated compared to their male counterparts. They have been demanding equal pay. Last week, Daily Mail reported Nigerian players could boycott their first match against Canada on July 21st in protest over unpaid bonuses.
Being a girl child, the expectation of your parents is just for you to work, get married, and then start to born their own grandchildren. So, but you having the passion for the football, you'll be like, oh, this is where I want to make my money.
The club is a private-owned team, so the owner of the club is doing his best.
Supporters worry the disputes could dampen morale at the tournament, but the Nigerian Football Federation promised to address the issue. Udu says it will take some time to fix the issue.
Good thing, what FIFA is trying to do, they want to see how they can match the male for pari passu. They want to see how what the male gets is what the female will get, but it will take time.
In March, FIFA announced that all players in the group stage will receive $30,000 each, while players in the title-winning team will each get $270,000. But while Nigeria's team races against the odds for victory, youngsters back home hope their success challenges the status quo. Timothy Obiezu for VOA News, Abuja, Nigeria.
Thank you so much there, Timothy Obiezu. Well, some very interesting points to discuss. But before we get into our reactions, let's give Sunny a proper introduction. Our colleague here, Sunny Young, joined the Voice of America in 1988, and he's traveled all over the world to cover numerous international sporting events, including the Olympics, the World Track and Field Championship, the World Cup, and the African Cup of Nations football tournaments. And Sunny Side of Sports radio show became a 30-minute daily program in 2016. And Sunny said this additional broadcasting has given him an opportunity to look in sports in depth. And Sunny Side is making a special appearance on Our Voices today to further discuss with us the upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup 2023 games. So Sunny, thank you so much for being with us once again.
Thank you.
You have a wealth of information that we want to really tap into. Now, we know that there is some challenges with FIFA when it comes to gender equity and especially the payments and all of that. What do you think are challenges there for them in terms of trying to, just equalize everything in terms of gender, especially when they're looking at the business side and how much they should invest into women's sports?
Yeah, that's a great question. In terms of this FIFA Women's World Cup, I think FIFA has probably poured more money into this tournament than previous Women's World Cups. But it was mentioned in that package by Timothy Obiezu. One of the coaches said, it's a process. It's not going to happen right away, this equal pay for female footballers. I see the increased prize money at this year's tournament giving more girls sort of a dream that, well, there can really be a fulfilling career here.
There's money to be made.
There's money to be made. I think we are going to see more girls and young women playing soccer, which already, you know, it's already described as the king of all African sports. So
that's right.
Maybe we need to call it the queen.
The queen, that's right.
The queen of African sports.
That's a good. That's
for this tournament, anyways. But I would like to see FIFA put more emphasis, money into infrastructure in Africa. They have done it in recent years, but maybe focus more on women's development of football.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
The world has changed so much with regards to equity. When you look at the 4 years ago when when the Women's World Cup was hosted 4 years ago, and now, how much of it is virtue signaling? Because we know that women don't fill stadiums just as much as men. So how much of FIFA pouring in money into this World Cup is virtue signaling?
I think FIFA would not be pouring any money into the tournament unless they knew they could make a profit. And so in terms of the host countries, Australia and New Zealand, fairly developed. They've hosted big international tournaments in the past. And I think FIFA realizes that the women's game has growth potential. And, you know, this recent structure where they're giving prize money to every player, which, I mean, especially for African players, to me, it's a big deal. It's a big deal in terms of, you know, the society they come from, and it can go a long way, you know, say back in Zambia or Morocco, wherever.
How do you see the role of the media here? Because I think the media plays a big role in terms of, you know, advertisement and bringing more audience to the field. So how do you see the media playing role in covering? Do you think there is enough coverage?
Great question. I don't know that.
I know you do.
I don't know that in terms of media coverage that there's parity in terms of women's sports and men's sports. Here in the United States, there's often criticism that, you know, women will get maybe the back page on the sports page, or won't get the front page. But in terms of this Women's World Cup, I think we're going to see more coverage of this women's tournament than any previous one. And you mentioned the ticket sales. That already is a sign that there's interest from fans and the media alike. But again, I think this tournament itself can go a long ways towards maybe focusing attention on other female sports.
I mean, you mentioned over the 30 years, we also have to recognize there have been improvements, right? Including even the
considering
pay
how
gap.
young the tournament is.
Exactly, compared to 100 years
right.
of male football.
It is a process, and that, you know, parity in pay doesn't come right away.
But Sonny, it doesn't answer the question. Why don't I know the songs? Where's the waving flag for the women? Why don't I know the song, Sonny? Why?
But yeah, you're right. This tournament is really only about little over 30 years old. The men's tournament, almost 100 years old. And so...
What about some limitations, Sonny? What are some limitations that we see in the women's football, especially on the continent? You know, given that there are two teams that are rising up to the play. No, it's actually Morocco and Zambia this time.
Well,
and the light is shining on them.
One story I covered recently that I thought really kind of painted kind of a sad picture, actually, of women's football was South Sudan, one of the newest country in Africa. They recently had a changing room built for their national women's football team. And up until that point, they would change in their cars, or, you know, it was not a great type of environment.
Definite limitation.
Limitation in terms of infrastructure. And I think that's where we're going to see more improvements in Africa.
Not even just for FIFA, but also for women who might not want to be in the sports because of those limitations, of course.
Certainly. So it's now time for a break. Sunny Young of VOA Sunny Side of Sports will stay with us to share all the latest on the African teams vying for the 2023 FIFA World Cup trophy. But first, we want to ask our audience to share with us all their predictions for the upcoming FIFA Women's World Cup matches. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and our handle is at VOA Africa. Use the hashtag VOA Our Voices. We are also on WhatsApp, and our number is US country code +1 202 503 9025. When we return, we will visit our Your Voice segment to hear what people on the continent have to say about the games. We will also be joined by a sports journalist from Lusaka who will shed a feminine light on spectating women's sports. Don't go away.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linor Moudou, in Washington every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
Welcome back. You are still tuned into Our Voices. We are talking about the 2023 FIFA Women's World Cup as female football players from our African countries are set to take the field in Australia and in New Zealand. We have Sunny Young, host of VOA's Sunny Side of Sports, still with us. And now joining us via Skype is former Copper Queens media officer Mimori Malisawa. She is a sports journalist and producer with ZNBC, Zambia National Broadcasting Corporation, from Lusaka, Zambia. Here to add a feminine touch to the art of sports reporting and the spectators' position in the game of women's football. Mimori, welcome to Our Voices, and we are very glad to have you here with us today.
I'm so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, definitely, Memory. It's a pleasure to have you. But before we start our discussion with you, let's take a quick peek and hear what, in our Your Voice segment, what some people in Johannesburg, South Africa, had to say, namely Zanella Dlamini, Mazi, Mbuso, Malinga, Fruit Juice, and Andile Subini, when they're asked if they'll be watching this year's Women's World Cup tournaments and if female athletes should be paid as much as their male counterparts. Take a look.
My message for them is to, bring it home. It's as simple as that.
No, I'm not going to be watching them because, first of all, I'm not a soccer fan, so let me not force,
They're going to be playing in the World Cup, a big tournament that's going to be watched by the entire world. So they deserve to be paid equal as the men's team.
I think you should pay them more than Bafana Bafana. No care. Because they are Yeah, they're showing us that they are greater than Bafana Bafana. That's why they must be paid more than Bafana Bafana.
I think it's fair that we're paying them less because less people are watching them, so there isn't a lot of money being generated from their games.
So, Memory, I have to say, outside of the age-old controversy of equal pay, you know the Copper Queens quite well, and with your years of experience covering women's sports specifically, do you find that workplace harassment is still an issue as it is in every other workspace, seeing as there are allegations against the coach, Mwape? Can you hear us?
Thank you so much. Yeah, I can hear you, and thank you so much for that question. Really, my take is I don't really think the sexual harassment issues or cases labeled against head coach for Copper Queens, Bruce Mwape, right now is something that is really taking place. No evidence whatsoever has been brought forward. I just feel it's always something negative coming out from you know, these African teams. Each time we have an African team to really perform very well at a very global stage, big stage, we always, you know, see this kind of, you know, issues coming up. Look, Zambia had a very big game against Germany. They managed to beat Germany by 3-2 in that international friendly game. And look, I was expecting the world to go awash talking about the big result that Zambia recorded against a team which is ranked world, and then Zambia ranked how? We can't even talk about the Zambia's position right now in terms of FIFA ranking. But you see, it's something that I kind of expected that would come out, because each time there's a positive thing coming out from, especially an African team, they always look for something negative to bring out, to shadow, overshadow the good news that is coming out. So for me, really, I feel in as much as we have such cases, obviously, in certain institutions or maybe even sports disciplines, for the Zambian side at the moment, I don't really think it's something that will hold water, and I don't think there is evidence at the moment. I wouldn't talk much because I haven't seen anything tangible coming out of that story in terms of evidence or even players that has come forward to complain about that right now. For me.
Memory, you are really one of we have Memory, one of the prominent sport journalists in the continent.
She won an award 2023.
She did. In a continent where, you know, in a continent where women journalists are not really that common, having someone like Memory is really incredible.
Yeah, I thought Memory made a good point about how these allegations about the coach came out almost exactly the same time after Zambia scored a big win over Germany, 3-2 in a friendly Women's World Cup warm-up match. And there should have been a lot more publicity about that game, because Germany's actually one of the contenders for the title at the Women's World Cup. They have a very good team. And this came at the end of a 3-week training camp. So yeah, that was a big story, but the coach allegations kind of overshadowed it. And she made the point that maybe, you know, that it wasn't right.
Yeah, there's definitely some unfair play there. But I mean, I think it's great that it will still be able to highlight that Zambia is in the game this year, and that we're going to be able to see the players play hard.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I do think that workplace harassment is still something that women deal with generally, irrespective of
which
the
profession
type of work that they do, whatever profession. So it is still, I think that it's something to still keep an eye on.
I want to bring a point here. You remember the Tanzania president made a comment once about female football players that maybe nobody will marry them or something like that. Do you think like comments like that from a head of state has something in how the sport is regarded?
I mean, coming from a head of state, it had a lot of impact. But I think very, very kind of negative comment. I don't think that helps, you know, the promotion of female sports at all. But I think we do have memory back.
Yes,
Yes,
I wonder what Memory has to say about that.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
can I just say, if memory serves me, I remember Memory being on a Straight Talk Africa show with me. So
yes.
great to see you, Memory.
Yes, yes.
I would like to ask you about the captain of the Copper Queens, Barbara Banda. Do you feel like she'll be a breakout star at this upcoming Women's World Cup?
Definitely, definitely. And just look, just like I was saying, we've got, there's players in the Copper Queen squad. Before I even comment much on Barbara, okay, anyway, she's here. And I love the fact that, look, she's making headlines when the continent, remember,
we seem to be
history. And, even this time around, when you look at her, she's very much informed. She's looking forward. She missed out on the WAFCON. She did not take part. And look, it's like she kept all the energies for the World Cup. And when you look at the way she has been performing Zambia's 3 friendly games, international high-profile games against Switzerland, the Republic of Ireland, and also the last one against Germany, you could tell that she's very much informed. Some good stuff coming out of her. A player to look out for at this year's FIFA World Cup. And so many other players that we've seen, obviously, in the Copper Queen squad. Earlier on, I heard you talking about marriage, if these girls will get married at some point, if at all they will have men being attracted to them. Hey, look at this. Just in the Copper Queen squad, we've got about 2-3 players that are married, very much married, with kids, playing football. They are very much women.
Right.
You can't take anything away from them.
That's right, Memory.
You can't take away anything from them.
That's right. And you've been covering them for a while, and I hope you continue to do so, especially in this FIFA Women's Soccer Games. But I want to also recognize the award that you recently received at the African Union here in 2023. It was really amazing. I just wanted to make sure that people know that, and that, having women sports journalists like you, maybe it brings out the interest for women to participate more in sports. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And yes, indeed, we want a lot of women to come on board. It's no longer male-dominated.
Thank you so much, Memory. It was such a pleasure having you today on our show. And that's our show for this week. A very special thank you to our Skype guest from Lusaka, Zambia, Memory Malisawa of ZNBC Sports reporter, and our colleague Sunny Young of VOA Sunny Side of Sports for his special appearance today. Be sure to listen to Sunny weekdays on The Voice of America to catch the latest in sports, as well as hear questions and comments from sports fans around the continent. It was an absolute pleasure. We know what team Memory